Since Spacies.
Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Sin Spacey Show. Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Sin Spacey Show. Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Sin Spacey Show. Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Sin Spacey Show. Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Sin Spacey Show. Guess what? Don't you know? It's the Sin Spacey Show! It's the Sin Spacey Show, everybody!
G'day invaders, welcome to episode number 32 of the Sin Spacey Show, and I am joined by three other Aussies this time. This is an all Aussie event. And we have got here on the far left, Chunty. How you doing?
Greetings.
Well, it's actually Uncle Chunt, but today it will be Chunty. Emerald Rangers today, Sauso.
Hi.
Yeah, here he goes. He's off to a rolling start. Me, Spacies, and over to my right on the screen is Jawsy. How you doing?
Hey guys.
Okay, so where do we start? It's been a while. I hate always having to say that. Oh, it's been a while, but it actually has. It's been like 2-3 months since I last done an episode of the Sin Spacey Show. My apologies. It's not by choice, health reasons mainly. But what I might do, Chunty.
Yes.
What are you currently playing?
God of War 2018. I got
Nice.
a PS5 finally, and I'm playing that again. I started at 2 hours. I played 2 hours when I had a PS4, and I traded it in to get my Series X back in the day, and I'm back to it now. So I'm about halfway through, and it's I'm really enjoying the journey on that game. It's excellent.
Do you have a choice if you were to have a choice between Xbox Series X, PlayStation 5 at the moment?
At the moment, well, Phil Spencer made a good comment, which is very honest, and I appreciate it, where he's like, yeah, it's been a long time since we've put out a massive, major first-party game. And he's not lying. So at the moment, I'd have to go either Nintendo or PlayStation as far as exclusives, because Xbox, they've bought all these studios, and they're making all these games, right? They can't put anything out yet. Yeah, there's these things brewing and bubbling in the background. So until they start rolling down the gate again, yeah, I'm just gonna catch up on all the crap that I missed out on the PlayStation and the Nintendo side. So
okay. Sauso, what are you playing at the moment? I know what you're playing.
You know what I'm playing. I don't want to say what I'm playing.
I'm going to tell everyone.
No. I wish it was God of War 2018, because that was the game I played. Unfortunately, yes. Britney's dance beat for the PS2. Why?
Yeah, Jawsy's like, what?
fascinating.
There's a story behind this.
There is a reason. Go and explain the reason.
Because as people here know or should know, I love my retro achievement sets, and that game just got a retro achievement set. That's all. That is all.
Retro Hunter. Good.
Of all the games they can shoehorn a achievement system in, they had to choose that one. Alrighty. And what else are you playing though? That's not so embarrassing.
That's not so embarrassing. Oh,
I'm just gonna call it what it is.
That's difficult. I just got finished playing God of War 2018, and I really enjoyed that one.
You shut your face. I don't want to hear spoilers. You shut it.
You don't need to know about Kratos wearing a mankini towards the end and twerking all over the place. You don't need to know.
Damn it!
That.
Oh man, that's one of those things you just need to find out for yourself and love it. You know, it's one of those things.
Ladies and he's got boy written on his butt cheeks too, which is disturbing. You don't want to know what EO is. You don't want to know what EO is. That's all I have to say.
We've got Madino in the chat saying God of War is still embarrassing. I don't know what you would mean by that.
Who the hell is that and kick them? You know?
I've got no idea why you would come in with the chat and comment with that. Anyway, moving right along. It's your chat. You can write whatever you want if you think that's important. And Josie, what are you playing at the moment? I've got to keep in frame. I've got to keep.
Yeah, it's a bit cliche, but I'm revisiting No Man's Sky, but on the Switch, because I got it originally. You know, everyone bought the hype from Mr. Murphy and Hello Games before it first came out, and I think in his mind he was painting what he wanted the game to be, and the world kind of saw it was very far from that. I picked it up on sale, I think on the PS4 back. It was still early days because after it bombed, they just dropped that price. I thought I'll give it a go, and yeah, it was really underwhelming. So I kind of put it down and walked away. But you know, obviously the years went by. I've not kept up with it, but there's like all this different DLC, biggest comeback in game dev history, and it's actually come together to what he wanted it to be. And the beauty of it is you can customize your difficulty. So it's not just, you don't just have easy, medium, hard. You can go into every aspect of the gathering system, the aggression of the NPCs. But all I did was I just turned off the suit, because I'm not a fan of just like grinding just to keep your suit alive. I kind of want to like experience everything. So I turned that off, and it's just, you play it in your own pace. And I've got to say they ported it really well. So if you're on the fence, check it out.
I haven't touched No Man's Sky in ages, but is it a good game for just exploring?
Exactly it is. I mean, they've added ship combat. You can even get a frigate and a squadron at some stage. So I think it's kind of like play it how you want. But for me, I can go in and it's peaceful, and it's not like a game where you have a clear beginning, middle, and end. I think you can play it as quickly or as slowly as you want, because there is stories, there's overarching plot, there's narrative, there's submissions, all of that stuff. But you kind of can just spend hours just chilling on a world, cataloging. You can rename stuff if you want. You can build. It's, you know, it's like a sandbox sort of style game as well. Though.
Universe.
But it gives you the option. Well, yeah, it's huge. But look, you know, on the Switch, it doesn't look as pretty as anything else, but it's playable, more than playable. And on handheld, you can just take it wherever you want. Just sit there and plug into your little world and enjoy. But no, I really recommend it. If you're on the fence about No Man's Sky, give it a look. It's cheap as chips now.
So you mentioned you could turn the suit survival aspect off. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. So that's what I've done.
Infinite mode.
You know,
wow.
Nice.
Usually you have to harvest resources just to keep
it.
your suit going, like you're heating, your oxygen, and that kind of gave me the sense of urgency. I didn't like that. It's like, switch it right off. And
someone here's not going to last long on Mars.
Well, like if you spawn on a planet, because it's random, right? And you spawn on you don't win the lottery on that, and you're on a planet that just kills you from the get-go. You're like, well, this game, like, thanks very much for making it challenging from day dot.
Well, it happened to my best friend. He said he got the game after I was sort of talking about it, and it put him on some poison planet, and he could last like 10 seconds, and the radiation killed him. Yeah. And he's just like, no way, he put it down. He's never played it again.
That was my first experience of the game. So I was like, what the hell is this shit? You know, and then I rolled again and I got a better planet. But all right, that's cool. I might have another look at it.
All right. Well, I think we've got a few questions to get to. What do you reckon?
Yes.
Do it.
So normally we get we have changed the format to 5 questions. Today we got a bonus question, so we do have 6 questions, and they take ages to get through. So I think we're just going to get straight through to the first one. First one is from the Evil Cucker. Take it away, Evil Cucker.
G'day, Space Cadets. It's Professor Switch from PAX Australia's PAX Pokemon League. You know what I really love about the gaming scene? Is there are some really, really good conventions out there where you can catch up with mates, check out the latest games, the latest tech, and of course, enjoy the great community spirit that comes along with the gaming scene. One of my favourite events is the PAX Pokemon League. If you're going to PAX, you should check us out. Currently, applications for gym leaders are open for Australia and PAX West, which is in Seattle if you don't know. Of course, the Australian event's the best. We know that. Anyway, what I'd like to know from you guys is, what sort of things do you really love doing and checking out when you go to conventions? Hope to see you all at PAX Oz this year. Cheers.
Oh man, that was awkward. I've forgotten how to mute us. So we're just holding our breaths during that question. So's gone Robotnik mode. Okay. So
Hell yeah. Respect.
his question is, what things do you like to do when you're at a gaming convention? Who wants to go first? Hang on, show of hands. Who here has been to a PAX or any gaming convention? Oh, poor Jawsy.
Guess who's in WA? Yeah.
Oh yeah, right.
All right, we'll start with you, Jawsy. If you were to go to
Okay.
PAX or something like that, what would be the first thing you'd want to check off and do?
Yeah, I mean, seeing people go to these shows, the most exciting thing for me is, getting hands-on with the newest stuff. So I think it was really cool that Sega were there showing off Sonic Frontiers. It's got so much mystery and hype around it. So I think, seeing devs there, having a chat with indies would be great. Just more than just getting the game in your hands at home and playing it. You can kind of get into that process of meeting the people behind it. So I think for me, that'd be the highlight for sure.
Okay. All right, Sauso. What's the story of the glasses? What's going on?
What glasses?
Okay. What's the thing that you like the most about conventions?
Spending money.
Well, you couldn't do much of that this time around. EB Games weren't there at PAX.
But yeah, that's the thing I like about going to conventions, like going to all the stalls that you would never normally... Well, normally there'd be online stores at this point, but when you go there, you normally see stalls that would normally be the online shops, and just to see everything in person is just
That's cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like being able to flick through all the comics, being able to say, oh, that's an issue of Spider-Man that Punisher debuted in. Well, yeah, that also, I like seeing the panels as well. That's a fun experience. And I do like meeting up with people that you'd normally just talk to online as well, like finally able to meet like your friends face to face. That's a fun experience.
Chunt.
Indeed. Yeah, I think I echo those sentiments, like sentiments, I should say. Yeah, I miss the days going to those conventions a lot. Like I used to do it annually, right? Like I used to get into EB Games expos with press passes, so I'd be able to access.
Pull one out for
all
the
the
EB Games.
Yeah, like I used to be able to access before the crowds enter with press pass, and I'd get there early and do some booze, and throughout the day you'd have some appointments to do demos and behind closed doors and stuff like that. I've played a couple of games that still haven't even released yet, which is interesting. I don't know when they're going to come out, but
oh wow,
yeah, and the people that you meet during those times, because there's no people, right? And there's people that you meet on that you like recognize from social media or YouTube, or like the one year I always refer to is when I met Phil Spencer at EB Expo. When I was just there. I flew in from Rockhampton the night before or whatever, and in Sydney. So my mind was ablaze, and I saw him walking one way with his entourage, and I was walking the other way. I'm like, holy shit, that's Phil Spencer. And me being from a small town-ish type of thing, I was like, I'll leave him be, or whatever. But then I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm here. This is one time I'll be able to do it. So I just turned around and walked right past his entourage and said, Phil, how are you? I shook his hand and had a good chat with him. And he asked me about the booths, if I've gone through the Xbox booth yet. And I was like, yeah. And I talked about the games that I played there, and he asked my opinion, and that was good. It was a good chat with him. Super nice guy. And I got a photo with him, and I'll never forget that day. Like it almost didn't happen, but you just got to take the shot. You know, you never know. Oh, the worst thing they could have done is just their PR team could have just pushed me off. But Phil's not like that, right? He's one of us.
I don't think they're pushing you off too quick.
yeah, they weren't. That wasn't going to happen. But yeah, I'll always remember that day. Like one day when I get a proper place, I want to get that photo like on a canvas and put it in my office somewhere, because that was a highlight for me.
Well, I've met too.
Yes.
And he thought I was from Pittsburgh. I wonder why. I said, no, I'm just local. And that was the extent of my conversation. So you got more of a chance to talk to him, because we were waiting to get So the way I met him was through Xbox Fan Fest, and he came out to meet us after we'd been waiting there for like at that point 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so he came out and did his rock star, because he is a bit of a rock star the way he acts, and he acts like the frat boy at high school, the popular jock. So he just came out and I had the camera, but I was so nervous when he came up that I didn't face him with the camera because I wanted to talk to him. And I was like, damn, I'm pretty sure, in hindsight, if I had have just held the camera to him, he would have understood. He's seen many cameras, so that wouldn't have been a big deal. And I had a handy cam, not just a mobile phone. So. But yeah, I met him as well. Me, getting back to the question, my favorite thing about conventions, it's not the games. Games are cool, but that's not my favorite thing. It's not the hardware or the hype and all that. It's just meeting people and saying hi to people. Although, I don't know, PAX 22 seemed a little less social than 19 was. And I think it's because I was involved in a panel in 19, whereas in this one I was just there as a pure guest, and that felt weird, being there just not having any obligations, just spending the days just walking around. I would like to be involved in a panel again for 23 if I can. Maybe some of you guys be involved in that.
I've
Are you
wanted
sure
to do
you want me
something like
involved with
that
that?
for
I plan
ages.
An episode of the Sin Spacey Show live from PAX, I reckon that would go off.
That's cool.
Yeah, but that involves a lot of logistics and it's a lot of planning. But
Just be warned, I plan on streaking on your next panel.
well, you can do that alone, and I've got nothing to do with the security.
Yeah, consequences.
Yeah, those enforcers can get rough.
Yeah.
Especially when you're naked.
Yeah. But we managed to, thanks to Game Train, we managed to pull that panel off, and I had the task of getting the slideshows that appeared behind us and getting them set up. And I did that just all through Google Presentation, and that worked. So that was kind of cool.
Nice.
Yeah, it looked really good too.
And I even set up the music so Alex Kidd music would play as we got introduced on stage. So that was good.
Nice.
But yeah, for me, it's just meeting people and having people, I walk down and, hey, Spaces! That was cool.
Well, let's see if we can make something happen.
Yeah, we're going to definitely look at getting everyone together for 23, because that's what, okay, so with 19, I was so charged up and I was looking forward to 20. And I was like, man, we're going to get this to become a big thing where everyone in our Twitter group goes and meets up. Who cares? It's not so much about PAX, it's about us. And
I'd love to
all,
go one year.
yeah, let's all meet up and just hang out for the 3 days. And don't get a day pass, get the 3-day pass so that we all just make it a big event.
Yeah, 100%. That'd be awesome.
And then COVID hit, and it just took the sail from out of my wind. And then I had heart attack, operation, all this other stuff happened since then. So I need to get back up on that horse and get back into it myself.
It'll happen. We can do it.
So that's my
Just gotta
plans.
believe. Ryan, gotta believe.
Yes.
What's that?
Parappa the Rapper?
Yeah.
Just gotta believe.
Well, and Evil Uncle Kaka was one of the guys I met down there, and he had a bunch of people lined up to take him on in Pokemon, and he was giving out, and a couple of them beat him, which is not usual. He said he gave him badges as a prize, so that was
He's
kind
a
of.
gym leader, huh?
He's a gym leader, yeah.
Excellent.
And he gave out physical badges.
Nice.
Next question is from Retro Toshi, and I'm going to try and see if I can work on muting us this time around. Not evil. He's not evil. Retro, he's another one of these that changes his names. Retro Toshi, what have you got for us?
All right, so I'm a huge Sega fan, a huge Sega console fan. Love the Mega Drive. I love the Sega Saturn. I love the Dreamcast. I've actually never played a Master System. Whoopsie. Sorry about that. But yeah, I'm so sad that they have left the console business, and it's a huge dream of mine to see them surprise everyone with a new console. And in this day and age, on par with PS5, Xbox Series X, Sega, whatever. Like, how cool would that be? How cool would that be? So my question for you, it's a two-parter. My question for you is, would you like to see Sega release a new console? Would that excite you? Would you get it? And my second question is, do you think it's feasible for them? I know they're a smaller company than Sony and Microsoft. Do you think they could do it, like financially wise? I hope so. I would love to see it.
That'll be the convention for the 3-day meetup.
Hey.
Meat.
There we go.
So every time a question gets asked, the internal chat amongst us derails, and if I could just record what we talk about, it'd probably get us off the air. Yeah. So Sega, and I am trying to say Sega. It's really hard for me to say it like that. And yes, the chant does say Sega. That's another story for another day. I'm calling it Sega. Fuck yous all. Okay, realistically, I mean, of course I would like another Sega console. Who wouldn't? But realistically, they can't even release a decent Sonic game at the moment.
They can't even run their own Twitch channel.
I mean, they lost their chance. What I think undid Sega was the 32X. I think the 32X for me was the first sign that this is a company that doesn't have a plan. They're just releasing shit. They're snorting coke and just releasing consoles. Another line, another console. We were talking about this the other night, weren't we, Retro? They had at one point Master System, Game Gear, Mega Drive, 32X, with Saturn coming on the horizon. They had 4 lines of consoles that you could buy games for actively in the shops. And then when they released the 32X, a bunch
Mega
of people...
CD, don't forget.
Well, Mega CD wasn't a mistake. I don't think the Mega CD was a mistake. I think the Mega CD was a good add-on. It just didn't get supported. And I don't think it was... and anyone that bought into that, which was me, still had a decent CD player at a time when CD players were expensive. And it was
But
cool.
to mum and dad, it was another outlay. And I think that was the problem. Sorry, I won't interrupt.
No, interrupt away. So I think that the 32X was the first sign that you had this Sega of America and Sega of Japan at each other's throats all the time, not agreeing on anything. Whereas Nintendo seems to have more of a, we are the ones running the show, you do what we tell you to do approach, which works. I mean, the only thing that Sega of America did, I think, in hindsight, that was of great contribution to Sega as a brand, was to suggest that Sonic be released as a pack-in game, which killed Japan. They hated hearing that, but God, it worked. And so getting back to whether I would like to see Sega release, they couldn't even release the Mini 2 here. I still haven't got a Mini 2. Did you have your Twitter feed just blow up with Sega Mega Drive 2 minis? Everyone's showing off their collection, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, I can't get it. I mean, you can get it, but you got to pay for it in the nose to get it shipped here.
Yeah, it ended up costing like just under $200, and I pre-ordered it from Amazon in the UK because that's the only place you could pre-order for PAL regions, but they ship it via Japan, so they still charge you the inflated shipping rate. I cancelled the pre-order. I'm like, look, I love the Mega Drive 2. That was the first Mega Drive system I had, so the form factor, it has a lot of symbolic significance to me, but that price, I'm like, it's an ARM emulation machine.
It's very hard to sell, yeah. Davey PGH in the chat, Davey says, I was one of them, sorry, Spaceys. No, good on you. I would have shown it off too, but at the same time, I'm sitting here thinking, man, I'm probably one of the biggest Sega fans of, on the platform, and I don't have one. That's bad. And I'm a little bit disappointed that there couldn't be some sort of an agreement with 5 Star Games and Sega to have some sort of a shipping outlet here. We just didn't get it. I managed to snag all 3, says Davey. So he got a Genesis, Mega Drive, and Japanese Mega Drive. I would say is what he means by that.
But does he have one of these?
Oh, here we go.
Uh-oh.
He always does this show and tell. He has to run off. Well, while he's dragging that
It's
off,
his chance. Well, look, I don't trust Sega much today as far as I could throw them, because some of the best games they've put out have been made by external companies. If they can't handle their own IP internally, like I wouldn't even trust them to even try attempt putting in a new console to market. Like,
nice. Okay,
Oh,
we
that's
saw it.
cool.
We saw it. Okay, cool.
Excellent.
Cool. Put it down. We know.
so
You
who
can't
knows,
hear me.
man? Like, I the Dreamcast is good. Like, I think they just burnt themselves with too much ill will until the Dreamcast came out. But the advent, we all know the story. The advent of DVD is what killed it, and PlayStation 2. That was it. That was the
Yeah.
end of it. But
How many times have you seen that meme where time machine, if a girl goes back in time, she'll be like, oh, look, you're my long lost great grandmother. And then when a guy goes back, he goes straight to the Sega head office. Put DVD in the Dreamcast.
Yeah,
Trust me.
Yeah,
or you
yeah.
can go further back. Don't release the 32X. Don't release the 32X. That was... Go on.
It wasn't just the DVD drive I found a problem with the Dreamcast back in the day. The problem I had with the Dreamcast back in the day was I couldn't bloody find one. It was on the shelf for about a week back in where I lived, and the game selection, you could find games, but it was all the shit ones. Ready to Rumble was everywhere. The occasional soccer
Ready
game.
to
was there.
Rumble's great.
But
It's
if
a fun
that's the
past
only
thing
game,
to
if that's
talk
the
about.
only game
Come
you can find, there's a problem. That's
And-
that's
Well,
what
there
I'm
was
getting
a big problem with Sega of Australia because they couldn't
at.
get
Oh,
a
that
line
remind me of
straight
Ozsoft.
away, and it was massive debacle that can be traced back to many failures. But Ozzysoft was one of them. They thought they could pay less for shipping, and it really hurt everybody.
Yep.
I was in awe of the Dreamcast when I
Oh,
was
yeah,
younger. I
same.
walked into, like, there's a Telstra shop in the shopping center, and they had a Dreamcast set up and the keyboard and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, like, you know, this is my first kind of, this is like next level shit, you
This
know?
is future. This is
Yeah.
future.
Yeah, and I was like, Mom, come on. And it was just like way too expensive. Like, we couldn't do that. And
By the time I could find decent Dreamcast games like secondhand, by that point all those games were ported to other systems like the GameCube, PS2, and Xbox. There was no point in playing them on the Dreamcast at that point.
I only saw one commercial. One commercial. I made a video.
Yeah, I did.
It's on. It's one of my favorite videos that I've made. Like I poured a lot of effort into this video with the editing on this one. My I guess you could say look at the Dreamcast, and the only other video that I did I think it could equal it was the Saturn video, and in it I mentioned that the day before, I think it was like the day before, they only just signed up Telstra on board with the whole internet thing before the release, so they had to slap stickers on boxes at the last minute.
I remember the Telstra stickers. Yeah.
Far out. Davey says Ozzysoft sounds like they were somewhat like Nintendo when they started out in the UK. They went through Mattel, and until Ninty took it over with the SNES, nothing got sold. No, that's not entirely true. Ozzysoft was super successful with the... So Ozzysoft initially were distributing Amiga and also PC titles. And they looked at this Master System thing, and they bought the rights to the distribution of it in Australia, thinking, yeah, it's a bit of money extra on the side, whatever. It ended up taking over their business. It ended up exploding beyond control, and it pushed out a lot of the PC stuff that they were doing, and it just became, this is our main business now. We're just doing nothing. And to the point where they actually got bought out by Sega.
They bought the controlling shares, right?
Yeah, and so I was there for that. One day we got Ozzysoft on a paycheck, on a payslip, and the next thing there's a Sega logo on there. I'm like, this is cool. I'm not working just for the official distributor. I'm actually working for Sega now.
Welcome to the next level, Brian.
Something like that.
Sorry.
I've still got a memo. I haven't got much from those days because we just didn't keep shit. We didn't record.
Don't
we
think
didn't.
about it at the time.
We didn't document anything. But I do have one memo that was sent to me. I've got 2 letters. One which is my CV, my reference, which is a glowing reference, I might add. And the other one is a thank you for lending them a Mean Machines Mega CD VHS tape. to try and secure the deal to get Mega CD sold in Myers.
Wow.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Epic.
Yeah, so it's just a little interesting side note in history there. But yeah, okay, back to the question. I would love Sega to sit down and focus on not a mainstream console. I don't think they're ready to do that, but
They
just
don't have the money or collateral for that.
a console that can take on and emulate Mega Drive, Master System, Saturn, Mega CD, 32X, Dreamcast, all in one box, and then just have it as an all-stars console. I don't know what you'd call it.
Sega Legacy.
Something, right? And arcade. Look at all those arcade games that are trapped. And then once they've done that, then they can go, all right, maybe we're ready to do a console. But I just think they're miles away from that at the moment.
Hey, Atari did it.
Yeah,
Well, like
did
you were
they?
saying, Brian,
Did they
you know,
though?
when it comes to that hindsight and just not keeping all this amazing stuff that right now is like so huge, I think game companies and developers were exactly the same with their game code. They made a game, they shipped it, and the
They
code
test
might
it.
have been retained, but in most cases it's gone. And I think now that companies and people, we've reached the age where nostalgia is huge.
Yeah.
Obviously, the kids that grew up with this stuff are now adults and spending adults. I think a lot of these companies, like everyone's like, why is Sega always re-releasing Sonic 1 and 2? And where's 3? And where's Knuckles? I mean, legal issues aside, for that particular example, I think that a lot of the code just simply isn't there anymore. And it's kind of like, do I bundle an emulator essentially and sell it? Like, you know, the Capcom fighting big logo arcade debacle, which got criticized because that was using Final Burn. And one of the Final Burn dev team actually sold out to Capcom, which put a massive wedge in between that team because emulators are for public use.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line? You know, do you slap a Sega logo on? I mean, they're doing well with the minis because the minis hit that nostalgia bone. You know, you're getting the tiny little version of what you used to play, but essentially inside it's just an ARM-based emulator. And how far would you go before you're shooting yourself in the foot? You'd get a lot of people saying, why should I buy the Sega Legacy? Great name, Chunty. Why should I buy the Sega Legacy? Because all of these systems, I've got it on the Switch Online, I've got it on the Virtual Console, on my old Wii U, you know. It's just, where is that niche? How do you fill
Because
it?
you're buying something that looks like that. And
Yeah.
and it looks cool. And it's like, oh yeah. And this is where the nostalgia really kicks in, is when you're holding
Yep,
something that's replicating almost identically to the original. Even
guess
even the upside down section is like identical.
To play devil's advocate, though, you could say, hey, I've already bought the Mini 1. I've got the Mini 2. I've got the Game Gear Micro. Like, why do I need to pay again for essentially the same thing? I think the problem Sega have now is an identity crisis. They've flogged certain titles ceaselessly, and I don't think pulling them from online stores like they did with the Sonic games really sent the right message with people. But Sega now has an identity problem, and it's kind of like once you've thrown your IP around to different platforms and consoles, you've already saturated that market.
I know
So
what I'd
really-
do. I know what I'd do that would bring back life into these old titles and rinse and repeat them again to the point where people are like, yeah, okay, I'm buying that now. And they did it, and they've done it. The Sega Ages series.
Yeah.
Do remixes of these old games, but add new quality of life. Is that what they call it? Improvements to the games, where you now, like for example, Virtua Racing. One of the biggest gripes I had with the Mega Drive version was that when you turn it off, you lost all your times, your lap times. Yeah. So now offer a system where I mean, they did that with Virtua Racing on the Switch. That's like the ultimate version of that game.
It is.
They need to go through their back catalogue and give that treatment to all their old games. They did it with Space Harrier just recently with the Mega Drive 2 with limited success, I think. I don't like the way the ground moves is apparently more faithful to the arcade, and I don't like it. I actually prefer the Mega Drive Space Harrier 2 look. I think it just looks super smooth compared to the arcade. But they've decided, no, we're going to revert back to the arcade. And plus, there's a lot of sprite flickering going on. And apparently you can turn that off, but it then just slows down the system. So it's like, how can a
Damned
system...
if you do, damned if you don't.
How can running a game which is based from 1986 slow down a machine made in 2022? That's just crazy.
Well, how do you
Because of the
hamper a
cheap
studio
processor.
that makes arguably the best Sonic game in modern times in Sonic Mania, right? How do you get that studio and hamper them so much to the point where you're not going to let them do a follow-up sequel to that game? And when they're doing Sonic Origins to make this a big Sonic celebration, that they screw it up for them. Like, they actively went out of their way to mess it up to the point where the devs are speaking out on it, calling Sega out on their shit, right? So how do you go from, oh, let's have a new console, yeah, Sega, that'd be fantastic, when they can't even get their own in-house shit straight?
Yeah,
Like,
rule number 1, from now on, no more anniversary dates for releases. Just cancel that. Forget it. Anytime you set yourself a timeline, you're just shoehorning yourself into releasing a broken product. So just from now on, when it's ready, it's ready. We'll announce it, the release date, when we're close to securing it and making it go gold. But anyway, I think we're diverting away. We're just explaining why Sega's a broken mess. I've heard this so many times to the point where I'm just over it. I would love Sega to somehow find some sort of magic and some sort of something that like Nintendo did with their Switch, and find something that everyone just looked at and went, oh wow, if they could do that. Because you look at the Switch is not like the most cutting edge console on the planet, which I think is something that Sega could be obtainable for Sega to do. I just don't know if I can trust them to do it.
Sega doesn't have the same pedigree of IP that Nintendo has, unfortunately. I don't want to be that guy to say it, but...
No, they don't. But I think they have a very, very big, untapped pedigree that could be revamped for the modern times. There's like, I can go on and on with all the past games that they've released that didn't get, that haven't had a release in decades. They've definitely, like, the problem with Sega, if you go into a Sega arcade in Japan, you can't even win Sega IP as prizes. You can the obscure idols stuff and whatever, but you can't win, like, for example, a Gilius Thunderhead plushie. I would love that. Or even the dinosaurs that they ride on, something like that. You can't win any of that. I walked out of Sega of Japan arcade with a freaking Kirby doll, with a huge question mark on my face, like, what the fuck am I holding here? Like, it's cool, but still, why am I getting it in a Sega arcade?
What
No
timeline
Shadow
is this?
plushie.
It's up there, but I mean, I didn't win that. I was given to me. G to the next level. How you doing? Lots of peeps I see here, he says, and it's also got Not the PM in the chat as well.
G'day, Not the PM.
All right, I think that I don't know. I think the long and the short of it is, I would love to see it, but I don't trust Sega to do it. Wow.
Highly unlikely.
Yeah,
Correct.
highly unlikely. Number 3 is from Sorix Space. We haven't heard from him for a while. Sorix, what have you got for us?
Hi Brian and everyone on the Synth Spacey show, hope you're having a good time, I'm sure you are. I'm Sorax from Sorax Space. I like games and dressing up for no apparent reason. What I would like to know from you is, how many times is it acceptable to buy the same game over and over and over again? What sparked this is the news that Resident Evil 4 is getting remade. I've already got it remastered plenty of times, too many times actually. So I've got the GameCube version, I've got the PS2 version, the PS3 version, the PS4 version. So that's 4 I can count. And they've now announced it for new consoles, but remade. And in my opinion, there was nothing wrong with the PS4 remaster. So how many times have you bought games over and over and over again that's technically the same game, whether it's a remake or a remaster? And how much is too much? Cheers all, hope you have a good rest of the show.
Sorso, what's happened to your face, mate? Oh, Sorix. Yeah, Sorix is in Sorso's room. How you doing there, Sorix?
Hey,
Get me out of here.
Hey,
He beats me. He doesn't feed me at all. He forces me to watch Australia's Got Talent. Ah, you little Don't do that. Anyway.
Or vintage things.
You right? You need
Well,
help.
let's never go to Kaiser's house. Okay, insane.
So quick question. It wasn't a quick question. It accidentally looped twice. How many times is it okay to buy the same game? Now, what we're talking about, we're not talking about buying the exact same game, although I have done that 3 times. I bought Midtown Madness, still yet to play it. You know, on the original Xbox, the Mimes. You know the game? And no one knows what I'm talking about?
No.
I remember
Midtown Madness is set in Paris. It's on the
Midtown
original.
Madness.
the first
Right,
game.
yeah.
Didn't the original game that wasn't the original game that given away free with like rice bubbles or something back in the day? If I recall.
Probably. I don't recall that.
I know the game, never played it.
But what Sorex is actually talking about is, for example, The Last of Us remake, and then they're now doing another remake. How many times before you just say, all right, I'm done. I don't care how many times you've remade this. I'm done with that story.
Well, look, I bought the Gears of War Ultimate Edition, right, which is a complete remake from the ground up of Coalition Studios. It was their foray into how do we make a Gears of War game. So they're like, all right, let's just remake the first one. Like over 3,000 models they remade, and they did everything right. That was kind of like I understood that one because the first one had aged a little bit, right? And I get it, but yeah, to the Last of Us thing, like, man, what the hell? Like, I don't get that.
That's an
I think
ego
it's-
boost. That's
Yeah,
that's
100%.
ego.
100%, right? But look, this is like at the behest of the purchaser, right? If you feel comfortable and going, you know what? I think I'll revisit this with the new polish. I think I'll do that if you can justify the cost. And this also comes into the whole when the PS4 came out and the PS3 games were getting relaunched on the PS4 because they were trapped, right, on the PS3 system because it's ridiculous to develop for, and there was no way to port it over besides doing a remake, right? So we had this whole generation of, well, we've got this pretty system. Let's just bring over the things that made us money and say they're remakes and just re-release them again so they're not stuck on this old system and this old PSN that you can't really do anything with. So it's almost a way for them to future-proof their games. Like Nintendo do this every time. Like if Nintendo bring out a new console and it has a new operating system on it and the current Nintendo Online is not backwards compatible with their newer system, like I think there'll be hell to pay. You know, I don't think you can get away with that shit anymore, where Nintendo can just lock games on a system like for generations, right? Xbox has got the right mindset, and they have for a long time now.
Xbox nails it. That whole
they fucking nailed it, man.
To be able to backward compatible a game right back to your first console is fucking brilliant.
Fantastic.
But they don't do it across all games due to copyright and all these other various reasons.
Many reasons, yes.
Yeah.
But look, I would look if they re-released. I mean, the Halo Anniversary Collection. You know, that was a celebration of Halo, and they remade Halo 2, right? And they did all new cinematics for it, which are just spectacular.
How good was that? They
like,
just
just
they absolutely nailed it. Yeah.
And that's like, yeah, okay. It's adding value to what you're experiencing in the game in general, and it's bringing it up, right? It's not just a modern polish. Like, and to a lesser extent, the Tasmanian Tiger HD re-releases that have been coming out, like I've been buying them because I want to support that shit. I've been doing it on Kickstarter, and they lost the code. We're talking about losing code for previous games. They lost essentially the code for the first game, and they did some like backwards like gymnastics from like people across the world just trying to find this one random gold disc that had the game on it, but also some source code on it. Just some random dude that used to work with them somewhere in another country, and they just asked and like, hey, do you happen to have? And they're like, yeah, actually. And if they didn't have that, they wouldn't have been able to do it, right? So now we've got these games that are being re-released forever, essentially, until it gets delisted for whatever reason, you know, or the servers go down, or blah blah blah. But there's reasons for it. I personally don't have too much of an issue, but you get to the egregious point that you brought up. Is The Last of Us. It's been released 10,000 times now, and for
Give
what
or
reason?
take.
Yeah, but the fans of it are like, you know what? Yeah, the good ones, right? They acknowledge going, yeah, this might have been a bit unnecessary, but they played it and they enjoyed it, and they still got something new out of it. So it's still kind of, in my mind, that's kind of still valid, right? It's a new experience. It's not the same game.
So we're back to Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. Is that probably the only game to mention the word dunny?
Oh, probably. Who knows? Probably.
Because I was getting on a tangent here. Australian slang is dying, and when every opportunity I get, I like to teach people from overseas Aussie slang, and because it's just been killed off by YouTube. And dunny is one of those words that's just so underplayed, needs to come back. And apparently, we were talking about that last night, that dunny was mentioned in Tasmanian Tiger, and it's just funny that you're mentioning it now. But moving away from that, Super Mario Brothers is a game that just keeps getting rechurned on. It would be amazing to see how many different platforms and versions of that game have come out, and they're all pretty much the same, except Game Boy Color, which has the deluxe version of it, which is the same game.
Yeah.
That's so cool, though. I love that. And trying to think of another one that the Wii had a 25 anniversary one where the question marks were just replaced with the number 25.
Okay.
No, 20. Sorry, 20. I can't think of many other examples of that. Oh,
Well,
and the
however-
Super Mario and the Super Nintendo one, which was
you
like
can't buy those Mario games off Nintendo Online anymore. They delisted All Stars, right? So
Yeah.
you can't buy that.
You can
it's
play
on
it.
Nintendo
You can
Online.
play it on Switch. Yeah, you can play it online.
Yeah,
but
you
that
can't buy
sucks.
them.
That
Yeah,
sucks.
it's such bullshit. Like, there's no reason for it. If I would buy, if they did the 3D All Stars, right? That's cool, but you can't buy that anymore. They've trapped the All Stars.
Sorry, the Gamesmen have got tons of copies. You can buy it from them.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you were just digital only, right? You would like, yeah, screw it. I'm just Nintendo Online only. I'm going to buy it here. You can't. You're stuffed unless you miss that window, which is absolute fabricated bullshit, right?
Yeah.
But if I want them, if they released a Super Nintendo version of All Stars for Switch, I would buy that shit. Like, because then it's there, right? If I need to have confidence in Nintendo Online to know that my purchases on Nintendo Online now
I
are
gotta be
gonna go on to
future-proofed.
the next console, right? So if they put it out, I'll be like, yeah, sure. Like, I'll buy that knowing that it's going to go forward, right? But they've stuck it behind Nintendo Online, which is absolute bullshit, you know? The least they could do is what Xbox does with Game Pass, right? You can play those through the online service, but you still have the choice to buy them with a 20% discount if you're a subscriber. That's the right way to do it. Nintendo are just absolute nonsense. I like, they do a lot of good stuff, but holy shit, man. Their business practices, I don't agree with a lot of it. I really don't. And I think I'm not alone, right?
All right. So long and short, has anyone else got anything else to add to this?
Look, I think it's a similar parallel to what you're seeing in Hollywood, right? With these remakes that people mostly aren't asking for. We didn't want to see the Mummy remade, but I think nostalgia again is such a powerful selling tool.
Aladdin.
That, yeah. Oh God, come on. Now Little Mermaid, then the Lion King. It's like it's hard to distinguish when it's a gift to fans, because I'm sure a lot of people who played The Last of Us Remastered are like, I'm a big fan of this series, and it feels like a gift to me what you guys have done for all the fans.
Yeah.
It's extra content, it's been remade, it's looking prettier. Same with Halo. You can see that they treated that IP with reverence, haven't they? And they've kind of put effort in instead of just going, let's just re-release an old game and put a bit of, shiny coat of paint on it, call it a day. So there are places like, Microsoft are doing fantastic, like you said, with they're taking game preservation seriously, and it's reaping the rewards for them as well. But
Better than Jim Ryan, far out. Who wants to play old games?
He needs
and
to
this
be
is
given the boot.
this is a business attitude, isn't it? Where you look at Nintendo Switch Online, I don't agree with it either. You're now paying money to rent something that's not even tangible. It's not like it was back in the day going to a video store. You pay money, but you've got a game in your hands. They're expecting you to pay for something you'll never own. But unfortunately, we're in that environment, that market now, where online streaming is king. And people are just seeing the dollar signs, Nintendo included. And I think for them, it's the easy way out. Why pay for something and own it when you can pay for it and play for it as long as we want, and then you stop paying, it goes. It's a terrible business practice.
Also,
It's only going to get worse.
I'm going to put it to the chat. What's the one game that you've bought the most, different remix versions or whatever. For me, it's Super Mario Brothers. Inadvertently buying it or just actually going out of my way, because I would only buy that if it, like the Super Mario Brothers, because it's such an old game, but I would only buy it if they added something new to that game. And I'm kind of going back to what I was saying about Sega, where I would like to go back and buy another version of Sonic if they added something new to it, which they did with Origins. I think that despite all the flaws that Origins had, I think I was overall happy with the way Origins turned out. It just needed a couple of tweaks to fix up some bugs, but overall, that was a good product that offered exactly what we needed as a gamer, to go back and give us an opportunity to go back to those old games and give it another chance to play them again. I think we should move on. I think we're done for that. So, unless you got something else to add, anyone?
Well, Josie made a good point. Like, we've got a whole generation now who'd never experienced what we did, right? Like, they didn't have that option of I'm going to go rent this game, or I'm going to go to the shop and buy this game. Like, outlets are dying left and right.
Yeah.
Right. So you got a whole generation now, just easy access. It's just all there. They don't need to do shit. Like, nothing's real, and that's just how that's their life, right? It's all digital. Nothing's real. Nothing's tangible.
Grandpa Spaceys here is going to get on his soapbox here and just talk about when I first bought my first console, which was the SC3000. There was no way you could just go online and buy anything. There was no online. So for me, how I had to buy games for that system, because it was not supported in shops, Big W stopped supporting it. And then it was just like, well, where do I get my games now? Mail order. So that would involve me getting on a bus, going to a suburb a few postcodes over, buying and sending off a money order, and then sending that with my order to the company that I wanted to buy it from, and then waiting and phoning them up. Well, how long is it going to be? How long is it going to be? I'm dying for this game. Probably 2 weeks before I get it. And now, click. God, why is it taking so long to download?
Yeah.
So that's where we're up to now. But I will always buy physical over digital if I can. I don't care if it costs more, which ironically sometimes it actually doesn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, I got a finger there from I Love Perth.
At least when you buy physical, you do have the chance to trade it in and get money back.
True.
Yeah, if you buy a game and then you're done with it digitally, you can't do anything with it after that. You're stuck with that shit. It's like Teflon. Is it Teflon? Yeah. You're stuck with it, and there's no options. What do you mean? What?
There's nothing on the disc these days.
Super Jew goes, such a grandpa story. I know. That's why I mentioned it. By the way, Retro, you keep looking at the window. Are you looking at your chickens or something? Or what's going on there?
Oh no, I'm just dealing with gastro right now, and I'm just trying to deal with the pain. That's all.
Right, overshare. Okay.
Wow.
Hey, you asked.
Okay, but you did this last time.
Cheers for powering on.
Next question is from someone that's lurking in the chat. And this is a good timely reminder that if you do want to get involved and send in a question, let me get that up on the chat. So if you want to be on the next episode of the Synth Spacey Show, then remember to send in your video questions. It can be a question about anything gaming. Keep it to under a minute or less. There's some of us that struggle with that. We all know who that person is. Record it in landscape, not this TikTok bullcrap. And be creative. Send it to brian@synthspaces.com with the SSS question in the subject line, and you may get into the next episode of the Synth Spacey Show. All right. Hang on. G to the next level says, I'll get physical whenever I can, but sometimes digital sales can't be denied. And digital...
Oh, yeah.
True.
1000% agreed. Yes.
And
Good
digital
point.
Switch life is really convenient. I'm not going to lie. Hate to admit that. No, it's the truth. Truth is truth. And again, as long as you can have confidence in Nintendo, like what they did with the Wii U shop server is just disgraceful, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I know that was an unsuccessful system, but I still remember buying that. It wasn't that long ago. I remember buying the Wii U and being excited and getting it home and finding out that only a few years later that they're dropping support for it. Oh, does that remind you of another company? Yes, that's right. Sega. They did the same thing, but it wasn't as bad back then because you didn't have digital content tied to your console. It was all physical back then. So you could just go nuts and going around getting all these reduced to clear titles for your console.
The tying of your content to a console was such bullshit. You know,
Well, Xbox were trying to do that.
Like,
Yeah.
tying it to
EA
your
tried to
account.
do it too.
Tying it to your account makes sense, right? But man, I bought a 3DS, right, and then I was done with it and I sold it, and then I had some online content on it, and I couldn't retrieve it because it was tied to another console, and like, wow, this sucks. This is bullshit. Thank you very much.
The Vita did it too, but they had the most shit tied to the console thing. By shit, I mean easy to break. Because I bought a second-hand game from Japan, right? And I put in, it says, oh, this game's tied to someone else's console, which means you can't unlock trophy or go to leaderboards. All I did was take out the cartridge, delete the game from my console, put the cartridge back in, and it recognized it as a brand new, fresh game.
Nice,
Okay.
excellent.
Super Drew's got a question for us. Who would like to see what that question is? It's question number 4. Here we go. Super Jude, what have you got for us?
Hey, Brian. Hey, special guest Super Jude coming at you live from the chicken coop with the video game question for you. And you, and everyone. I'm curious, which video game is the most like your life? Or is there a video game that's kind of like your life? For me, at the moment, I would say a little bit of Stardew Valley, a little bit of Harvest Moon, perhaps. Hello, honeys. Sweet. And except for when I'm driving to work, then it's a little bit more like Mario Kart or what's that other fun racing game? Anyways, yes, please enlighten me. What video game is most like your life, or is your life like a video game in any way? All right, Jude out. Have a great one. Stay awesome.
I said
And
big
we're back.
juicy worm.
And I timed that just beautifully. I managed to keep that last line you said out. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Guys, stop it. Again, if you heard the shit that gets mentioned during the questions, it's just insane. Thank you for that, Super Jude. Love you, chooks. I don't know. Who wants to go first?
Video game is most like your life. Well, this is a bit of a loaded question. It could be a dangerous one. Look, some people out there might say lawnmower simulator or power washer simulator or, you know, YouTube simulator. So there is a game of that, right? Like, I don't
Was
know.
that PewDiePie
Just
that put that out?
I have no idea. But, I mean, I don't know. I would have to say something boring like Office Simulator, you know?
I was going to say Stanley Parable.
well,
That's me.
I mean, I'd love to say something a bit more exciting, you know, like what's the game that I play all the time? I don't know. I'd love to say Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but that's just untrue. Right?
Yeah, I can't
Or-
imagine you jumping off. Yeah,
I wouldn't either. But
Yeah.
Hay
was-
bales.
into hay bales. He always lands every single time. Josie,
Look, you know, I'm not going to get real deep on a Saturday morning, but you know, fetch quests, right? Open world games. I guess. What isn't a fetch quest in real life? Especially when you like go and do the washing, right? You try and go and do the washing, or you need the dryer for something.
you gamify
But the
drying.
dryer-
You're drying your
But the
clothes.
dryer's full, right? The dryer's full, so you empty that out, and then you have to put that away before you use the dryer for this other washing, and it's like a fetch quest, one after the other. Yeah, look, video games, geez, it'd be pretty exciting if you could say your life was like Max Payne or something like that. But hey, are we in a simulation?
Oh
I'll
boy.
leave with that.
Yeah.
I'll leave with that. I won't go any further. But no, look, I wouldn't say, you know, the simulators are.
You want to get
successful.
deep? I heard something the other day that it gets really deep. The mind named itself.
Yeah.
That's very true. That's very true.
When I heard that, I was like, hang on a minute.
Been long enough on that, and yeah,
Actually, it did, yeah.
Well,
yeah, yeah.
you could just say The Sims, right?
Yeah. The Sims was the first game that made me think of gamifying life. Because it just does the most mundane things, and all of a sudden there's a little task thing that pops up above their head. Washing, toilet, and you got to queue it all up. I don't have enough space in my life to queue up what I need to do, but yeah, that's the 1st game I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my life, funny enough, is just like Metal Gear Solid, but not in the exciting way. Not in the whole bang bang shoot shoot. Mine's more in the stealth. I'm constantly hiding in a cardboard box, hoping not to get spotted. That's my life.
Wow. Excellent.
Okay.
Well done.
We won't ask where you are while you're in that cardboard box. But, let's
By the
keep
way,
with that.
Joyzy touched on something earlier about time zones. We have got actually between all 4 of us here 3 different time zones. So it is 11:56 where I am, and also where Retro Kaiser is, but Chance
10:56.
is an hour behind, and Joyzy's 3 hours behind. So
I'm living in the past, man.
we can't see you. You're not in the center. You can't
But
hear
yeah.
us.
I
Alright.
told you, just like Metal Gear Solid.
This is props, man.
Amazing. Carrot Top.
Couldn't
Carrot
tell.
Top. Eat
Couldn't
Nana.
tell.
Yep.
You don't need the movie adaptation anymore. You've just nailed it, Kaiser.
Yes.
So I
Well,
think to answer it
look-
for me, Stanley Parable.
My mate used to make he used to play Sims a lot, right, through school, and he would always make the streets or whatever around, and he'd put all of us on the street. He'd play it like, oh, Crystal lived next door to me, and like, all right, downstairs. They'd do all this stuff, and I'd come over and visit, and he'd be like, hey man, look, I've made us in the Sims, and look how cool our life is in here. I'm like, holy fuck. I'm like, all right, like cool. It's a bit of fun. But then I got older, and I understood the appeal of these Sims games. It's kind of like a second life experience almost. Like you can have a life in there that you prefer.
I
No,
think
but a Second Life, that's
yeah,
another
I
good
think
one.
I kind of got over it because we just kind of got used to being able to put yourself in a game.
Yeah.
So unfortunately,
Oh,
got jaded with that.
Speaking about putting yourself in a game, the most fun I ever had with that was the wrestling games. Used to fill out all the creators as possible. I wasn't have us all go all out in a hardcore match of a Royal Rumble.
Very true.
But it has to be mentioned that I think Super Jude is definitely living the Stardew Valley life for 100%, or Harvest Moon, whichever way you want to go. Although
Dinkum.
Hey,
Dinkum. It's a new game on Steam. It's like
Dinkum.
Stardew Valley, but it's made by Australians.
okay,
Oh, nice.
cool.
I'm waiting for the Xbox port. Apparently 2023 at some point.
Sometime soon. We got 2 more questions to get through. Thank you, Super Jude, for that one. Next one is from Super Nintendo Bros. Raji. What have you got for us? Raji's cool. Here we go.
Since Spacey Show, what's up, guys? How we doing, fam? I have a good question for you. I heard you like this guy called Sonic the Hedgehog. Well, I do too. Problem is, I've never loved a 3D Sonic game. That's a true fact. I've tried. Sonic Forces was horrendous. My question is, do you really think that Sonic Frontiers is going to be a great game or even a good game? I have my doubts, but I want to know what you think. Are you excited? Do you think it's going to be a great game? Thanks for having me.
And he would be killer in that.
We're live now. So there's an ongoing joke internally. Thank you, Raji, by the way. But there's an ongoing joke that we think that because Raji's stream is so damn well run and it's so cool with his lights and his fog machines and stuff like that, that he'd be the ideal person to run a strip show, a strip club.
Yep, the old
Yeah.
strip club DJ.
Yeah. And he could host it, everything.
He was
And
a
now,
stripper, right?
oh, what's the name of his character? The amazing, what's her name? The dancer,
Tiffany?
Tiffany. I don't know. I'll get to it in a second.
Tiffany
But
Fox? No, that's Samantha Fox.
Phoebe, I think it's Phoebe.
Phoebe.
Yeah. Anyway, getting off topic here. Sonic Frontiers. Who here has played it?
Ooh, insider knowledge.
Just a brief one. I waited 2 hours for that shit. I had to wait 2 hours to get the chance. They said, yeah, it's probably going to be about an hour. Okay, I can wait now. 2 hours later. And then I finally get my chance. However, the best photo of me at PAX was taken by a random. And he only took my photo. He didn't know who I was, but he liked my jacket. So he took that. And I saw it online, streaming through Twitter. Hang on, that's me. So I right click and sample that. I ended up friending him too. That was another cool thing. But okay, Sonic Frontiers. I think it's going to be it's going to offer more than your normal Sonic game. I think if you like Breath of the Wild, has to be said, it's just like being Sonic in Breath of the Wild. Don't know too much about it though, because 10 minutes is not enough to really dive into a game. But you do have levels that you can unlock and build up. Like you can start to run faster when you build up your running attribute or your health attribute and all these other attributes. There's an icon in the bottom left, which is like an X, I think, one or the other, and it has different numbers representing different attributes. So making Sonic into an RPG style game is actually kind of cool. It's only been done once before. Name the game.
Sonic Chronicles.
Yeah, okay. Wow, you guys are good. Like any 3D Sonic game, I'm cautiously optimistic. Shut up, G. Be positive. No, I think you're right. It's something that I'm going to be approaching it thinking, I think they've got this, but I can understand where people's caution lies. Although I do feel like there's a sense with Raji that he's being a little bit of a shit stirrer there, knowing that I'm the Sega guy and he's a big Nintendo fanboy. Who's got some thoughts on this?
I'm apprehensive. I had my phone in hand last night on the Xbox store, the digital edition. I'm like, do I do it now? Because I want to play it. I know I'm going to play it. And I stopped myself like twice. Just wait. It's out in a few days. Just wait for the reviews. And I was like, oh yeah, the reviews aren't out yet. And it's very close to release. Like that's kind of telling. I mean, if they're confident, they would have had reviews out by now, right? But you look at some of the most recent footage that you can see online, even the stuff they upload themselves officially. There's just the pop in, right? And I need to know like how it's going to run on console. Like is it going to be 60 or 30? You know, is there going to be 2 different modes that you can choose from or whatever?
Don't buy the Switch version.
Yeah, all we're seeing is like all the trailers are like a PC video captured on PC version. I'm like, all right, cool. So
funny you mentioned that, or the different kiosks that was set up for this thing. Which, by the way, I'd love to get one. They were all running PCs. Yeah,
PCs,
every one of them. And one of them crashed.
Yeah.
One of them crashed. I got a suspicion I think it just flat out crashed. And so they had, I think it was 15 set up. And so for that one run, 14 could only play. And someone came in midway through the next run. So they stayed on for the next one as well. So that was kind of odd how they ran that. But it broke the game, and the girls that were running the stand couldn't work out how to get the game up and running. Why wouldn't you? Like, you've only got one job. Anyway, so they had to get some dude to get the keys out and get it set up again. But yeah, interestingly enough, it was running on PC. I probably will want to get it on PC. And that's coming from a console person like me. I'm only hoping one thing with this game. Super ultra wide. I want to play that. I want to play Sonic in super ultra wide, and I know it's not going to support it. I reckon it's not going to support it because I don't know, Sega of Japan. They only think inside their little tunnel, you know. Oh, no one's got.
Isn't this being built off like a modified Sonic Forces engine?
I think it's a totally new engine running this.
New engine?
Yeah, from what I've heard.
I was about to say, since it's PC, there's probably going to be a mod release for it in the future.
Oh, it's going to get modded to shit. Like, you get Jar Jar Binks running around or some damn thing. Bubsy. Bubsy.
Oh my god.
But
I won't even ask.
I'm really looking forward to Sonic Frontiers personally.
Oh, same. I am
Jawsy,
too. Like,
what
I
about
want
you?
a Sonic game.
Yeah, look, I think we all really want Sonic to do well. You know, we've grown up with him. We love the characters. It's iconic. He is the heart and soul of so many lives growing up.
Of 90s
And,
gaming.
you know,
Yeah.
It is. It is. He's like the 90s gaming Mickey Mouse. But again, we go back to Sega and their decisions, and we're looking at like Sonic Mania, like how amazing, but their pride or whatever hubris led them to cancel any potential sequel. So it's kind of like, is their arrogance going to get in the way of a decent Sonic title? Because they seem to kind of, as you say, they live in their own little blue tunnel. And look, everyone wants to see it succeed. I don't think there's anyone out there that wants to see it crash and burn. Well,
So, what are you distracted for? You keep looking over to your left. What's going on?
Spider just dangled down. I have to get it away from me.
Okay. All right, Saucer,
look,
concentrate.
I hope it will be good. I really do. I hope it's going to be great.
agree.
And look, I even on the Switch, coated in Vaseline. If it runs well and the content's there, the story's there. Hey, if it's blurry,
Okay,
people
why?
can still get a chance to play it on their little Switch lights. Because, you know, my kids love Sonic. My daughter especially loves Sonic. And, you know, we tried some of the newer games. They just don't hold her attention anymore. Whereas the old ones do.
Sonic Mania?
The old ones do. They hold up.
Or Sonic
Mania, she loves
Origins?
Mania. She loves Mania. She tried the one where you can make your own character. Was
Sonic
it,
Forces.
Forces.
So
And-
Raji said that was a broken mess in his comment, and I don't think that it was quite as bad as what he says it was, but I think they're missing the mark. I think they're no
they need a formula.
But the one thing I'm worried about with Frontiers, it's serious now. He's not joking. He's not Sonic anymore, because he's stuck in this weird land. He suddenly has this voice speaking to him, and he has no idea what's going on. And he's worried. He's trying to get back to Amy. So Amy's now a thing again. I think they missed an opportunity to get Sally back. But anyway.
I reckon the game will do okay. They've done so much worse with the Sonic series that it's borderline near impossible to sink down lower than what they did with like Sonic 06 or Sonic the Hedgehog Genesis. I reckon it'll be fine. My only complaint, which I wish they'd put into the game, is just more loop-de-loops. The loop-de-loops, those what sold Sonic for me back in the day. Those are always fun to run around, and seeing those in 3D and Ultra Road would be extra fun. So Sega, put in more loop-de-loops.
Nice.
G to the next level says agreed, but Sega can't just keep churning out mediocre Sonic games or even worse, broken ones. They won't learn unless people don't buy them, but unfortunately, people buy Sonic games regardless. You see, I think they're treading on broken ice, broken glass there. If they keep putting out broken Sonic games, eventually the series will just die out. As good as Sonic is, people will just be like, and it's already happening. People see Sonic and they're like, alarm bells. We don't know what kind of game we're getting. Are we going to get the good Sonic? Or are we going to get the bad Sonic? Which one? Just a quick question. This is sorry. So, am I interrupting you? Interrupting me? Sorry, go on.
I've been saying, heck, that's been happening since the Game Gear games. You get a Game Gear Sonic game, you can't tell if it's going to be like one of the good ones, like the Master System one ported, or one of the bad ones, like bloody Sonic Labyrinth, where he runs slow as shit because Robotnik stole his shoes.
I got a question: 3D Sonic versus 2D Sonic. Do you guys have a preference, or don't care as long as it's just a good game?
Sonic.
Yeah,
I prefer a good Sonic game.
Sonic
Doesn't matter if it's
Adventure.
2D or 3D, as long as it's a good one. Like, yeah, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, those are fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic one. Sorry for interrupting.
They have
you,
their
Billy.
problems though, don't they?
Oh,
They
yeah.
have their problems, but it's kind of like, did they do it? I mean, you had Mario 64, and that worked. But I guess, are you putting it there because you found something that worked in the transition from 2D to 3D, or are you doing it because you're trying to keep up with the status quo? And I sometimes feel that formula is missing. They can't find a way to transition speed and controlling someone that quick into a 3D setting. So I think once they somehow nail that, they could get it to
the
work.
controls felt good. Actually, that
Yeah.
was one thing I remember when playing it. And and the whole having to form loops with your trail introduces a whole new aspect
Clever.
to playing Sonic, which I thought was really cool, because Sonic needed something other than lock-on targeting. I think that we've done that to death now. So having this now introduces a new mechanic to use against the bosses and enemies, and it will make the bosses and enemies more interesting to take on as well. So hey, we've got a guest
wild
star.
cat has appeared.
Yeah.
Oh, I want a cat so bad.
If she comes over, I might get her to. Anyway, you guys talk amongst yourselves. I'll try and coax Chibi.
Well, my main concern for Sonic Frontiers, like we all said, we just want it to be good, which is great. I don't really have a preference, although I do lean more to the old 2D. Like Sonic Mania, I think is just a masterpiece. You know,
Pinnacle.
I'll have more of that, please. Just stick it right into my veins, please. But Sonic Frontiers, my hope is like, well, Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 just don't hold up. Like I played them again earlier this year, just out of because the hype, right? I was like, oh, I'll go play them. And then Sonic Forces was crap. I didn't like it at all. I think they missed the mark completely. I think they just were like, well, you've got all these people online and they're like, here's my OC character, please do not steal, like all the time. And they're like, well, let's just make a game for that crowd, which is what that game is. Like essentially that's it. And I was like, okay, I had that experience. Cool. Can we just move on now, please? Let's never do that ever again. Let's focus back on Sonic, a good Sonic game, right? So I'm seeing a lot of promising stuff with Frontiers. I just need to know how it's going to run on Series X. Like if it's not
it's going to run well on Series X. You know that.
Well, if there's pop-in and stuff on the trailers and their PC footage, like how's it going to go, right? Like I'm concerned on how it's going to run on the Switch.
How far into the horizon, if a pop-up appears, does that piss you off? Like you're not really looking into if
it's very noticeable. Like you see the trailers, he's grinding around on a rail, and there's something that's already in frame, right? There's a spot on the screen that's already in frame, and then there's a box just appears. It's just right there.
Yeah. We'll see. That doesn't jar me so much if it's in the distance. I'm not looking at it, and if it pops in, well, yeah, okay, kind of annoying, but I think that's sort of gotten better. And the trailers have started to show signs of improvement with the earlier builds that we were seeing. I don't know.
When they're putting out footage, when he's grinding on a rail and he jumps off a rail and you see the platform he's about to land on and there's nothing on the platform until he gets a little bit closer and then there's a box or two that just magically appears.
No, I think that has been eliminated. We'll see. We're speculating. We're only speculating here. But what I saw, what I played of it, I didn't notice any of that.
It sounds like a bit of a PR no-no, doesn't it? You know, all these early trailers came out and people are going to be scrutinizing them. They're going to be critical. And as a company, you want to show your best hand. And I don't understand why Sega decided to do that.
I would show nothing. Like, I know you got to build up hype, but it's got to the point now everyone's so hypercritical these days that you just can't risk setting anything up for to be shot down way in advance. Like, it just kills all your momentum for PR. So just stick to the sneak reveals, logo reveals, and all that shit until you're ready. Yeah. But so giving it,
a very odd decision.
Can we all agree that giving it to IGN and to do the unlaunching for the first time was just such a big mistake? And nothing wrong with IGN. I mean, if you offered it to me to do a reveal, I'm going to put my hand up and say, yeah, thank you for the money. I'll take it. But that was just so bad on behalf of Sega to make that decision to side with IGN, when instead of doing that, they could have given it to Sega of Europe, put it on their Twitch channel. Tonight at 10 p.m, we're going to showcase and play for the first time Sonic in beta build, the very first stage. And then everyone would have to go to their channel. They'd have to follow. They'd have to get in. They'll get their viewers up, and they have then control of the message. So if internally, if anyone says anything about the game that's disparaging, they can be dealt with later. Yeah, shouldn't probably be saying that. But when you give it to IGN, they're not bound by any of that shit. Which in one way is good, because it shows that, hey, we don't mind if people bagging out your game, but you don't want that. Let them bag the game out once it's been released, but not prior to.
Well, IGN was supplied that footage. Like, who the hell in Sega, who the hell said, all right, we need to review this content that we're going to give IGN. All right, let's have a look and let's sign off on it. And who the hell just looked at all that stuff and goes, you know what? Yeah, this looks like shit. Let's give it to them.
G to the next level says, but Sonic fans are impatient. They can bloody wait. Who cares
Yeah.
about that?
Don't get me started on
Sonic fans are some of the most annoying fan base on the planet. I had a stoush with one yesterday online. Had to block their ass. Idiots. Do you know what this idiot was arguing about on Twitter? We've all heard about people arguing about Sonic's the color of his arms, right? And I always made the joke: if Sonic's got blue arms, he didn't shave that day. That's all I say, right? Now, this guy was getting, and I mean, he was getting really hostile and worked up over people drawing Sonic with tan-colored eyelids. That's his complaint.
What color should they have been? What
does it freaking matter? Who cares? You don't.
Yeah,
you see them for 2 frames if you're lucky. So it doesn't really matter. The original Sonic game came out, and when he blinks at the logo, it's tan-colored. That's if you want to keep it like.
Doesn't that suggest though that it's a soft part of his skin? Like if his eyelids were blue and furry, like how
He shaved his eyebrow. He shaved his eyelids.
Why would you have fur on your eyelids?
But anyway, this guy was getting worked up, and I'm just replying, going, "Dude, it's a fictitious character. Relax." And it's more real than you are. I'm like, what?
I saw those comments.
Yeah,
it's more real to some people. What people define as real is different for each individual. I'm like,
and as soon as I read that, I was just gone. Yeah, block. First, and then no, I muted him when I saw that. I unfollowed him. I didn't mute him. I unfollowed him, and then he replied back saying, "Oh, you're so sensitive. Yeah, you unfollow me just because of this." When someone unfollows me, I don't notice it. I don't care. But these people are obsessed with who's following me, who's not following me. Anyway, so I just went
rejected.
Screw this. Block. You can do, and we made a comment yesterday saying that, you know what I really should have said? If Sonic was real, he would have blocked you. Anyway,
at the speed of sound.
At the speed of sound. Top loader snuck in on the bonus extra question, guys. This might take longer than a minute because, top loader just
go now.
Toilet break, guys. Toilet break. Here we go.
Hello, I'm the Top Loader, and I'm here to talk about Capcom Fighting Collection. This is my question. Why is it that the one-button Hadouken and other special moves in every single one of these games is a default option? Default being the key here. I don't care about having that button. But really, it should be something that's earned. To reiterate, when you play these games, you got one button to do the moves if you want to at the back of the controller. Instead of doing the traditional half circle that we know about and press of the button to do the move, to learn it, to progressively learn how to play this game, I always thought was the fun of Street Fighter 2 and games are like this from this era. Sure, Street Fighter 4 and onwards have it built into the system. That's a bit different. Back then, this wasn't part of the system. You actually had to learn the moves. I put out a tweet on Twitter, and 85% of people actually liked having the one button press to do special moves, which really shocked me because I thought that was taking a bit of the fun away. Sure, have it as an unlockable or an achievement. People love achievements, right? Have it as an achievement or an unlockable, not the default option. What's your opinion on this? Do you like it as the default, or should it be something unlocked or something that shouldn't be in the game at all? You tell me, so I know what you think. And going by the tweet, I'm assuming that some of you are going to disagree with me and some of you are going to agree with me. That's how it is. Bye.
One button Hadoukens, yes or no?
Well, if the game has the option for like the pro mode as well, like the proper mode as well as the basic mode, that I'm okay with. But with stuff like Persona 4 Arena that's just doesn't have that, it's just simply press square to win.
Does that annoy you?
Me. It does, because it's like...
How much?
There's no... a lot, because there's no skill involved with it. There's no area to learn all these things. There's no satisfaction. It's just all the matches will all turn into the bloody same. Then it's just like there's no Oh, sorry. This just makes me angry. I can't talk
So-
properly anymore.
So, in your experience, these online matches are they catered? Like, is the matchmaking catered to those who have particular control sets or not?
Some games, yes, but
Like, how do you know? Like, how do you know if you're versing someone online that's got press X to win and you're have all that who has all that disabled? You know what I mean?
They're constantly doing the same combo over and over. to move as
Press X to
possible.
win. I'm gonna hashtag that. Press X to win.
'cause I like fighting games. Like, I'm not.
Oh, yeah, they're
I'm not
great.
very good at them, but I enjoy playing them. Right. So I
Mm-hmm.
can see a different perspective here. Like, you take the Evo professional route, right? Whereas I like to chill. Like with like Mortal Kombat 11 came out. I just wanted to enjoy that. I just I had auto combos on. You know, I was like,
Okay,
Killer Instinct
I
auto
side-
combos on.
I side with Toppy here. Pulling off the move is half the fun. If you
Yeah.
pull off the
Yeah, yeah.
move and it succeed, it's like, fuck yes, I did it.
Well,
Whereas
I'll
if
do
you
that.
just
Well,
go, I used to cheat when in the Super Nintendo era. I had one of those LCD controllers that you press one
you
button.
program.
You pre-program moves. Unfortunately, the LCD went bleh and leaked. But before that happened, that was like the killer controller. Like, if you played against someone that had one of them, you got no
I
chance.
hated you.
No.
Hadouken,
Friends hated
Hadouken.
you,
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes away a lot of the satisfaction and a lot of the feeling that wow, I'm learning how to play this game properly.
Especially
Like,
with
sort of
new,
stuff that-
like when they went with double Hadouken and
Yep.
to do the super move, that's so satisfying when you pull one of them off in mid game.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Chunty, the whole, the single button combos. That's kind of okay at first. It's like training wheels to get you into the fighting game, but after that becomes quite boring. It becomes quite tedious. You don't get any satisfaction or fun out of it. It gets to the point where you're like, you know what? I want to learn this game properly, and that's where the real fun begins.
Well,
Like,
I think
being
like
able-
Arc System works. I mean, you've probably played a bunch of their games, Kaiser.
Oh, yeah.
And they're just the granular like top level of this is a fighting game and this is how technical you can get with it, right? Like Dragon Ball Z fight or Dragon Ball Fighters, whatever it was. I love that game. It was so good, and it could be as complex as you want it to be or as simple. Like, I was in the middle where I was like, yeah, I want to be able to pull off the moves, but auto combos for days, please. And that's just how I like to play. So I think there's two different conversations in here of like, well, what's your preference and what benefits the medium as far as fighting games? Because it's a niche thing, right? If you want these fighting games to succeed, you need to make it accessible for everybody, right?
Yep.
But it's like yourself, with the matchmaking comes into play. You want to be able to
Street
play
Fighter
for those...
2 did make it accessible for everyone, and it was really,
Well-
really, really successful.
Sorry.
By today's standards, probably not.
Yeah.
But like Kaiser would probably want to go up against someone on matchmaking who's like as granular as he is, right? Whereas I would like to be in the middle somewhere of like, yeah, I can pull off some moves, but auto combos, yes, please. And if you do an auto combo to me, fine, I'll wear it. That's part of the fun, right? But then you've got someone who isn't as dexterous as we are, and they want to play fighting games, right? They might be missing.
Nah,
a
they
couple
can go.
fingers or-
They can go play columns. It's all.
I know. Well, look, there's people out there that don't have like all their fingers, or they're not like able, right? So and they
Oh,
wanna
don't
play-
turn that around on me.
No, but it's true. No, but I'm just saying, like this is true. It's a true thing. It's a valid thing, right? So like, if people want to play a fighting game, and they like, well, I can't do these advanced things. Well, let's make it accessible and easy for these people to enjoy, and it's going to make it more wider appeal for fighting games to succeed, because
Yeah.
the budgets are getting higher, man. Like, NetherRealm Studios have set the bar for what a fighting game is as far as presentation and everything, right? So you can't get away with like Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 4's content was just anemic, right?
Yeah, it was
as
really
well as
pitiful.
yeah, and like Killer Instinct 2013, as excellent as a game that is, they didn't have the budget to do a whole storyline or anything, right? So when you look at NetherRealms, you're like, wow, this is the gold standard, right? And you can see Street Fighter 6 coming out now, of like, well, shit, we need to up the game, right? So this is like, yes, this is the Street Fighter game that I'm gonna play, because I'm like, yeah, you're giving me my value for money here. There's so much in it, and there's a story mode, and you've made it accessible for everybody. Whereas difficult for those hardcore fans is great.
Yes, but
This
then
is
you
awesome.
then you got those games like Persona 4 Arena that doesn't have like the both modes in it. It's just strictly just plain autocom. And that's when things get a bit messy, because for there's no option for the pro players then. Because my problem when I'm doing is like, press button for the the combo, but when you try to do like the more complicated one, you might.
He's talking
accidentally
about
press
this game.
Oh yeah. But
Oh,
when
wow.
you're trying to do a more pro combo, you may accidentally like press the square button or X button again, and it might just activate your super special move when you didn't want it to do, and just completely messing up your game.
Yeah.
So there's no problem with having both, but as long as both are in like the same game, as opposed to
Do you actually believe what you're
this
saying?
game
there?
having like pro, this game just having like. Although there's a lot of games that just have pros, but then again, if they had they had training mode to make up for it back in the day. That's what training mode was for, to help
Yes.
you. So training mode is just as important, but the adding in like the kid mode, the auto combo mode, to it is like a good step to try to get people into the game.
Exactly right. I mean, you got people out there that are finishing Dark Souls with their chin. I can't play Dark Souls.
The last one I saw was with a flute.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but like, there's people
You
out
hope
there.
it was a flute. You hope it was a flute.
Yeah, but like this guy had no choice, right? This is how that was his input method because that's what he is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's amazing. I'm like, holy shit, I can't even play that crap, and you've finished it with your chin. Like, I don't know how the hell you did that, right? So if people like that out there can go, all right, I can get into a fighting game and it's accessible to me, sweet. So like what Kaiser's saying is like, well, he wants all that. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, he wants.
Oh
he
no,
wants
it's good training wheels to get you into the game.
Yeah. And you want the flexibility for all players to go, all right, let's scale this for whoever wants to play it. And that I think
But I
that's the way it
do
should be.
believe that there should be one mode where all that shit is disabled. You need to play it, and that's like if you want to play
It
this
should be
properly,
matchmaking.
yeah.
Hardcore mode, yeah.
Yeah, the matchmaking should dictate
Exactly.
that. Like, you can play cross-play games where you can remove Xbox players or PlayStation players or those that are playing with controllers and you want to play on mouse and keyboard for shooters and stuff like that. You should be able to have a granular matchmaking option to go, all right, anyone that's using this game mode or this control type, exclude from matchmaking for me. Like,
Exactly.
that's the way it should be.
My same force is Chunt, although thankfully he has a nice, cool head about this one. Me, I'm just a rager. Because yeah, this does hit a nerve for me.
You're passionate.
What the hell kind of crap are you talking about?
Oh
We-
yeah,
we all
it's
play
good to
games
have
for
in
fun.
gaming. Although too much compassion can
Fun.
lead to
Fun.
No,
What-
being compassionate in gaming is good, although you can be too compassionate and say stupid shit like, "Oh, Sonic is more real than you." That's when shit crosses the line.
Oh yeah, that's when I just lost the plot. And I'm like, dude, you do realize that you're talking to someone in real life and you're just being a clown right now. Haven't had to block someone in ages, but that was satisfying. By the way,
Jorzy, your opinion? I might have
Yeah,
talked
yeah.
about it a couple
Sorry,
times also. I'm sorry.
No, all good. I think we might need a nice leather couch for Kaiser to lay on and just get this out of his system.
what you
Because
guys don't realize is as he's been talking, I've been throwing in top loader samples over the top of him while he's talking.
Look, I think I agree with Chanty. Like to stick to the subject real quick, I won't be long. But we all play games for skill, to feel like you're getting better. But at the end of the day, games are for enjoyment, and I think that for us, we've grown up playing it like the manual way. Like SNK games are again a whole nother level,
yeah.
which I love playing, but. Yeah, it's not for everyone, and if you want to get more people into the fighting game scene, which is pretty exclusive as far as your abilities, it dictates how much you enjoy it. I'm the same. I'm a casual fighting game player. I love fighting games. I've grown up with them, but I'm not about these hitboxes and your frame animation and all that stuff. I mean, how deep do you go? But if the option is there, great. If it gets a next generation of kids into fighting games and prolongs the fighting game genre, mate, I'm all for it. But I do believe when it comes to the competitive scene, sure, let's have some options there that, if you're playing one button combo system or whatever, you're drafted with other players of that option. And if you're not, you're drafted with players who don't. You've got two sides of the coin and everyone wins. And I think to get more games like Street Fighter 7 or more King of Fighters, Samurai Showdown, more Arc System games, you're gonna have a bigger crowd to draw in, because Chanty said they're costing more money each year. But if you're not making the money, you don't want to see the fighting game genre die because it's not making enough coins. So let's encourage more people to start.
Agreed.
And that option's really good.
Going to wrap things up here, switching over to another view. Oh, look at us all four into one big box view now.
Brady Bunch.
Something like that, yeah. Now, can I change the view to... Yep, there we go. Awesome. Okay, we're going to start with you, Jawsy. Where can we find you? You don't have any online sort of content. You just sort of hang about on Twitter and troll.
I'm very grateful to be on the show. Not being a YouTuber, I'm not into doing any of that stuff. But I've got a big passion in gaming, as you guys all know, and I love to have a chat with you guys about it. And I'm just on Twitter. I'm just along for the ride. But yeah, props to you guys making this content and getting people involved and expanding that passion of gaming. You guys are doing a great job.
Awesome.
Well, thanks. Good to see you, mate. It's happy to have you on. It's good to have a chat. And,
sorry,
see you,
always.
Chunt show. What the hell?
I'm just being, polite and nice,
I'm joking. Retro Kaiser. Okay, where can we find you? What are you up to? What's your next project?
In a cardboard box.
I really need to get back into I really need to get back into content, Megan. But unfortunately, shut up. I really need to get back into content, man. But this year has been terrible for me medical-wise. I've been battling stuff like colitis and Crohn's lately, which nearly killed me early in the year. Yay!
Not yay.
What?
Yeah,
Yay?
not yay.
Not yay. Ironic yay. I guess. But no, I'm feeling a bit better. I've had some medicine, and I'm got the urge to make content again. I'm gonna be. You can find me over one of my Twitch pages. Well, it's the website I work for is Twitch page at Emerald Rangers. You can find us there. But I do have I think it's called Retro Kaiser on Twitch as well. For if I get pissed with my
Doesn't even know his own channel. Wow.
I haven't used it. I don't get the name under all that dust. But you can also
He
follow
is
me.
such a humble streamer.
Oh yeah. But if you can also follow me on YouTube, which I want to put more content on there as well. I've just been bloody lazy on that one at Kaisercade, where you can find episodes of my shitty Zone knockoff called Kaisercade.
All right.
Please give me more views. I'm desperate. And if you want to follow me,
He is people, believe me.
And if you want to follow me on Twitter at RetroKaiser, that's where you can find me.
All the links are down below if you're watching this on YouTube. And Uncle Chunt, what project have you got coming up?
Yeah, so UncleChunt.com. That's my hub. You can find all my shit on. It's got all my social links, but I'm Uncle Chunt almost everywhere, so just find it. Look, I'm doing my chunk cast. I've been lacking on it because I've been getting ready to get married and having a trip overseas. So it's been taking.
Hey, congratulations!
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So it's been taking priority, and that's been my priority. Just with work and making.
Does your missus know about all the stuff in the background?
Oh yeah, she loves it. I bought her two. She's got two.
She's enabling him.
Yeah, she's got two Transformers waiting for her here. So
wow.
Yeah, so she's all cool with it, and we game together all the time. So she's like, we're two of the same pod. So so that's been happening. So I've been putting creation on the back burner for a bit, but when I come back from that, we'll full steam ahead. But I'm going to try and get one or two more out before I go. But UncleJohn.com, that's where you find my stuff.
It's a good show, by the way.
Oh, thanks, mate. I appreciate that.
And it's just messed up. Did I do that right? Oh, right. No, I know what's happened. Derp. Give me a second. There we go. Brady Bunch View is back. Okay, well, that's the end of episode number 32 of the Synth Spacey Show. As for me, I'm just going to be plotting. I do hope to do YouTube videos one day, but they don't pay me. It's just the bottom line. I don't get any money to do YouTube. So that's why you find me over on Twitch. It's not the only reason, but I just find it more satisfying when this is a very low crowd. I had 60 people watching the other night, and that was really cool. I don't understand why the Synth Spacey Show doesn't get more views. I think it's one of the proudest things that I do on any of the channels and the content that I make. And I have done, I have put a lot of effort. You don't know half the stuff that I do behind the scenes to get this to look the way it does. You'll find me on Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays here on Twitch. But I gotta go. I gotta go pick up a dock because I'm going to be heading to Japan in 8 days, and I need a dock to be able to take with me. See, I got a switch bag, and I want to be able to just.
I don't know why you need to take your doctor with you. That doesn't make
sense.
Switch
dock.
Oh,
comedian.
right.
So I got a bag there that I want to be able to have to put the Switch in and run. I don't want to have to disconnect cables and crap. I just want to grab it, run, and then plug the Switch into a hotel or wherever I'm staying. That's my goal. So either that or I could just buy a Steam Deck.
Yeah.
I've got one on the way.
Oh.
Anyway,
Excellent.
my name's been Brian. I've been gaming since Spaceys. Thank you guys for watching.
Since Spaceys.